Hello, my name is Rosie Power. My candidate number is 4388020, and this is my presentation for IB Film Studies Standard Level. Today I will be discussing the 1955 American thriller film, The Night of the Hunter, directed by Charles Lawton. Key themes within the film are loneliness, as there is loneliness amongst the adults, and John is lonely, as all the others ignore Powell's behaviour. Religion, which plays a big part in the film, as the antagonist disguises himself as a religious man, and the same hymn is sung throughout. And also, deceit, which works in an almost cyclical nature, as one character deceives another character, which opens up a gateway for Powell to infiltrate their lives. Equilibrium theory can be applied here, as parents die, they're at the mercy of a wicked guardian. There is a journey that leads them to their fairy godmother figure who brings a solution. And the artificial looking house, the creatures that are present as they go downstream, and the sweet caring old lady are all indicators of a fairy tale. The idea that the preacher is honest and truthful is subverted in the film. Instead, the film highlights the fact that people will trust him just because he's presented as a preacher, and it also raises issues to do with the stereotypes associated with it. It's set during the Great Depression, and it's based on a true story of a serial killer named Harry Powers. The preacher's personality portrays him in an almost comical manner, as for example, when he's chasing them up the stairs, he trips and his fingers get trapped in the door, and this makes him seem almost clown-like. And then when he's shot by Miss Cooper and he hops whooping off into the barn, this gives him a comical nature, and it's at times of seriousness, which is a strange aspect of his character, and it adds to his deranged nature, which allows the audience to develop feelings towards him. The film's intention is to showcase the effects of the Great Depression and what it drove people to. Ben Harper says within the film, "I robbed that bank because I got tired of seeing children roaming the woodlands without food, children roaming the highways in this hid depression, children sleeping in old abandoned car bodies in junkies. And I promised myself I'd never see the day when my young ones would want." So this is really exploring the desperation of people, and it's because of this desperateness that Powell was able to manipulate them. Religion is used to explore about the failures and hypocrisies of institutionalized religion. The film is an American thriller, and the style of the film contrasts to the Hollywood realism of the time. Lawton intentionally shot the film in black and white, as colour film was in use at the time. This provides the film with the ability to use sharp contrast, silhouettes, and shadows. It also explores the stark reality and the coldness of the Great Depression. In terms of cinematography, it borrows conventions of German expressionism, which highlights the emotions and moods instead of attempting to depict reality. The film falls within the film noir period, and film noir at this time is linked to low-key black and white visuals that stem from German expressionistic cinematography. And much of the attitude of classic film noir emerged from the Great Depression. The title sequence is very insightful, as it shows the children's saviour, Rachel, talking to the children about good and evil, which is something that Powell uses in his stories, and he takes advantage of this a lot. The budget was $795,000, and it was distributed by United Artists. It was not a success with either audiences or critics at initial release, and this may be as entertainment was a way of escapism, and the themes explored are the way that people were feeling and the issues that were going on, which is not really escapism. The film studio was founded in 1919 by D.W. Griffith, Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, and Douglas Fairbanks, and it was to control their interests rather than depending upon powerful commercial studios. For the purposes of this presentation, I'll be performing a textual analysis of an extract from the Night of the Hunter, beginning at approximately 42:26 with a long shot of Willa, and ending approximately 5 minutes later with a shot of Pearl and John across from the table in the kitchen. The cinematographer was Stanley Cortez, and vignette is used by Lawton to build tension. This is when Powell is humouring the children's efforts to hide, and it's not only creating tension because he's approaching them, but it also closes in on the children, suggesting that they are trapped with him. And the tension is created as we know where they are, and we're waiting for him to get to them. The fact that it zooms in on them and then him and then them shows how close he actually is. The series of shot reverse shots, high angle and low angle, when Powell is bribing them over food, the high angle shots show his power and his dominance, and it makes the audience almost feel as if they are with him, as the camera is positioned beside him, and so we see how he sees them. And the low angle shots show how vulnerable the children are feeling as Lawton presents Powell with a natural authority, and as Pearl is younger, we can see that she's more drawn to him. Movement within the frame is used as well by Lawton when Uncle Bertie is panicking that he'll be blamed, and the repetitive rocking reflects that he's going over it in his head repeatedly, and because it's a side view of him, it distances us, so we get a clear view of the psychological impacts of what he has seen and the fear that he has of the secluded society and their judgmental nature. There are lots of close-ups of John and Pearl, which bring us closer to them, and we understand their innocence, which is really important. Lots of close-ups of Powell as well, which should allow us to make a connection, but instead it creates uncomfortable feelings because his facial expressions are so menacing, and this is worrying and almost sickening considering that his targets are now these young children. Lawton uses fade outs a lot, and he uses these to create a demonising image of Powell and what he does. The first time it's used, it's with a shot of Willow under the water, which fades to a shot of Powell intimidating the children who are hiding from him. And this leaves the audience shocked because we've just seen what he's done to Willow, and this makes us question, will he do the same to them? And it reinforces his brutal nature, causing ambiguity and reinforcing the fact that he's unpredictable. And then the second time it's used, we can definitely see the prominence of psychological issues, as it's between a shot of John, who we can see being quite he's showing remorse, and usually he's quite stubborn and protective, so we can see how much it's affecting him. And then also it's between Bertie, who's rocking, so Lawton uses these transitions to highlight the fact that people aren't coping with what's happening, and Lawton is linking these situations together, showing that Powell affects people in different ways, and the fact that it's used twice is showing that Powell's destruction is detrimental, and what happens as he pushes people to extremes. Fast cuts are used to create suspense when John and Pearl are hiding and they knock the shelf. The audience are unsure as to whether this will give away their hiding place, as it cuts from them to the source of the noise, and the cut is fast. And then the shot of the bottles, the source of the noise, is really long, so we watch them rattle. And because the audience are bonded with the protagonists, they're worried for them. And it's also important that it was a long shot, as later John recognises that the shelf is wobbly, and that's what saves them and allows them to be able to run away. Contrapuntal sound is used when the camera tilt is applied, as Uncle Bertie is revealed as he's found Willa, and this causes suspicion because there's a sinister twist. Here, the fairground music that is used is light-hearted, and it's also the same that's played when Willa has been married to Powell, which is showing that this is something negative, and it's almost making a mockery of Willa and her mistakes. And the contrapuntal sound provides more of an impact, and then harsh sounds of a cello are introduced to reinforce the reality that Uncle Bertie is faced with. Voiceover is used. This is while Powell is singing and we can see Willow under the water, and this is used as almost like a sound motif. It's not that it's intimidating when we can see her, it's just that it's because we can see the shot of Willow, and then his voice interrupts the calm wave sounds, and it seems threatening. Lawton uses this in three major parts of the film to show how manipulative Powell is. The first time is at the beginning when John is telling Pearl a bedtime story, and he says, "And the bad man came back," and Powell's shadow comes up on the screen, and John dismisses it, which foreshadows John's attitude to Powell, as John is not scared of him. And then he also uses it when Powell is trying to intimidate Rachel and coax her out of her protective stance. And as it's used the first time, when it's used again, automatically it shows us that he's going to strike, so it's the sound motif. Shadows are used when Powell is looking for them, and Mrs. Spoon comes in, and Powell goes to greet her. When he goes up the stairs, all that can be made out is him and his shadow against a light-coloured wall, which presents him as something that stands out and as an obstacle, which shows that it's almost strange that the characters can't actually tell. And the shadow explores his threatening nature as he goes up the stairs, but he's still in the doorway, so they're trapped and they can't escape. Also, the preacher's costume is the most dominant visual, as the antagonist is, and because he's dressed in all black, it presents juxtaposing ideas, as he's presented as a loud, proud character, but he's right under their noses and they don't notice. And also, long shots are used to explore proximity and to create tension, to reinforce the contrast between the pure innocence of the children and the evil nature of Powell. And by placing the camera at far proximity during scenes of action, Lawton is creating tension, as we are able to see the children struggling, and meanwhile Powell is fast approaching. The fact that Lawton has used the Great Depression and children to explore the issues surrounding the Great Depression makes it more effective. The film has been selected for the United States National Film Registry, and it's now considered culturally significant by the Library of Congress. Issues that are used within it are still significant to today's society, and they are acknowledged within today's society. Robert Ebert says that many films from the mid-50s, even the good ones, seem somewhat dated now, but by setting his story in an invented movie world outside realism, Lawton gave it timelessness.